moving into a new home. It's supposed to be one of the most exciting fresh starts you can have, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Unpacking, dreaming about the future, finally your own space.
It's like the definition of security.
Until it isn't. That feeling of safety, it's foundational. And when it gets disrupted, especially right after you've committed to a new place, it's incredibly unsettling.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what we're digging into today. We've pulled together a collection of personal accounts, stories shared online. People moved into a new house, maybe an apartment, and almost right away something happened. Something that made them question, well, everything.
And our mission really is to get into the specifics. What were those moments? The details, the discoveries that turned that hopeful new beginning into something deeply unnerving.
Right. And what can these stories maybe teach us about security or about the hidden histories a place might hold? Maybe about facing unexpected challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump into these sources.
All right. First up, we've got a story from someone who made that big move, city out to the suburbs.
Ah, the classic migration.
Right. They just had their third kid, needed more room, obviously. Found a house. Neighborhood felt quiet, safe. Exactly what they were looking for, seemed like.
The kind of place where, the biggest worry should be remembering recycling day.
Totally. The house itself, it was an upgrade. Not massive, but, decent space for the growing family.
Okay.
And there was this feature his wife really loved, the backyard garden. A bit wild, right? Overgrown. But it had these old, maybe slightly eerie garden statues scattered around.
Oh, like gnomes or...
He mentions an angel specifically later. She called him character. He was, well, frankly, indifferent, left them alone mostly because, who wants extra work right after moving in? Laziness, basically.
Fair enough. A decision that quickly took on a new dimension, I gather.
You could say that. He's only been there a few ways, notices something odd. One statue, this angel, is now facing away from the house.
Unlike the others.
Yeah, all the others face towards it.
Yeah.
He kind of tells himself, okay, maybe I'm misremembering. You know how it is.
Right. You doubt your own eyes first, gaslight yourself a little.
Exactly. But then, the very next morning, another statue had turned. Now he's like, okay, nope, something is definitely happening.
So he asks around.
Yeah. Asks his wife. She hadn't really paid attention. Asks his young son, Jimmy, who denies it. And the narrator even thinks, his son probably couldn't move these things anyway. They're solid, heavy.
Right. Kids aren't usually hauling concrete statues around.
So he tries to push it aside. He's distracted. There's financial stress, worried about his job.
That's so relatable, isn't it? You've got these big real-world worries, and your brain just wants to rationalize away the small, weird stuff. You just don't have the bandwidth for, haunted garden gnomes.
Totally. It's easier to dismiss it, your imagination, maybe, until it escalates dramatically. A few days later, he looks out, and all the statues are lined up, in a perfect row, right at the edge of the yard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Facing the house. He described it as freakish, something straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
That feeling of being watched,
That's a deliberate. That's not random wind or anything. That feels purposeful, unsettling.
Yeah. He goes outside, heart's pounding, feeling totally paranoid. He tries to lift one just to see.
Too heavy.
Way too heavy. He realizes they're way too heavy for one person to move alone. Couldn't even budge one.
Okay, so definitely not his son, and probably not just one person messing with him.
Right. His wife comes out. She is instantly freaked out too. She suggests maybe it's neighbors pranking them.
Plausible, I guess, but weird for a new family.
He dismisses it pretty quick. Says the neighbors seem normal and who pulls a stunt like this on a new family with young kids? He called it what it felt like. Harassment, not a prank.
Yeah, that feels different, more targeted.
So they call the police, who, frankly can't do much at this point.
Right. No damage, just moved garden ornaments. What can they really do?
Exactly. They suggest security cameras, which he says they can't really afford right now. He tells the cops, yeah, I'll get them, but internally he's balking at the expense for something that feels so absurd,
And there's that real-world constraint again, finances hitting up against this weird, maybe escalating threat that the authorities can't really pin down yet.
They try to hide it from the kids. A couple of days pass quietly. They're hoping maybe the police visit spooked whoever it was. They try to forget, but they're constantly on edge, always looking out the windows.
That psychological toll kicks in immediately, doesn't it? Your home, your refuge suddenly feels like you're under siege or something.
Totally. And then the next major blow. It was a weekend morning. He takes the kids outside to play and painted on the back wall of their house big black letters.
Oh no, what did it say?
Go away.
Okay, that's a whole different level. Direct, undeniable, aggressive.
His reaction is just pure adrenaline. Shoves the kids inside, tells his wife stay put, and he just sprints through the yard, screaming threats, looking for someone, anyone to confront.
Fight or flight kicks in hard.
Totally. But nobody's there. As he walks back, the adrenaline drains, and it's replaced by just sheer fear. This isn't a prank. This is serious. This will escalate.
Yeah, it's moved way past unnerving property stuff. That's a personal threat. Police come again.
Yep. Take another report. Still no leads. They kind of reiterate, not enough to stay on the property. Suggest maybe it's teenagers, which the narrator just finds impossible to believe.
Teenagers moving multiple heavy statues and then coming back to spray paint?
Yeah.
Seems unlikely, or at least very determined teenagers.
Right. The only consolation prize is they promise a patrol car will swing by more often.
Small comfort, I imagine.
Yeah. His wife is now, understandably, twice as upset. He's trying to reassure her, but inside, he's panicking. And then that night, he just peeks in the most terrifying way.
What happened?
His wife screams from the living room. He runs in, standing in their backyard. They see 5 people. 5 people wearing white face coverings.
Oh, God.
And they're dancing. He describes it as like puppets. Just bizarre, unnatural movement. They're frozen, shocked. He calls it the most disturbing thing he'd ever seen.
That visual is... Wow, that's chilling. 5 masked figures, moving strangely. It feels almost theatrical, like it's designed purely to maximize fear.
Totally. He snaps out of it, grabs the biggest kitchen knife he can find, screams at his wife, call the police, and runs out the back door, screaming like he's clinically insane. Pure rage and terror.
Adrenaline again.
Yeah, but he stops dead, just one step outside. He realizes there are 5 of them, just one of him. They could be armed.
Smart move, maybe. Horrifying, but smart.
He runs back inside, calls himself a coward for it. But he thinks maybe the knife, his screaming, maybe it scared them. They stopped dancing and ran off into the garden.
Wow.
He tells wife, take the kids, hide upstairs. He guards the back door. Police arrive quickly this time. Search everywhere.
Find nothing.
No trace. Gone. Vanished.
That must have been agonizing. Seeing them, knowing they were right there, and then... poof.
It was the last straw. That was it. He finally broke down, bought security cameras the next day, didn't care about the costs anymore.
Understandable.
His wife was hysterical for weeks, begging him to move. He agreed. If one more thing happened, they'd go. But the thought of the financial hit, moving again so soon, it was crushing.
The practical nightmare on top of the terror.
Luckily, it seems the cameras worked, or scared them off for good. No more incidents since.
But the kicker is...
They still live there.
Yeah.
And they never, ever got an explanation. Who were those people? Why were they doing it?
That unknown factor, the lack of resolution, that just hangs over you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Incredibly heavy.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to our second story. This one comes from a narrator who's an electrician.
Okay, useful skill to have around the house.
Definitely. He and his wife, Taylor, and their dog, Lola, moved out to rural New Mexico. No kids. They found this large house, great price, out in the country. Been there about 3 months when this starts.
Right, so settled in a bit. What happens?
Well, his profession becomes relevant pretty quick. He noticed the upstairs lights kept tripping the circuits, but the rest of the house still had power.
Ah, okay. As an electrician, he'd know what that means.
Exactly. He knew it was a simple circuit load issue.
Okay.
So he goes down to the basement to flip the breaker. Hadn't really spent much time down there, he says. Just cluttered storage.
Standard basement situation.
Fixes the lights easy enough. But while he's down there, curiosity kicks in. Starts looking around a bit more.
And finds something.
Oh, yeah. In a far corner, kind of hidden behind some old chairs, he spots something really unusual. A large, industrial-grade metal door.
Like a vault door in a basement?
Pretty much. He says it was a lot taller than most normal doors. Thick, looked like a safe room or maybe a panic room door.
Whoa, okay, that's not standard equipment. That's immediately suspicious.
Right. He tries to open it, naturally, locked tight. Tries all the keys the previous owners left behind. None of them work.
Okay, mystery door?
He tells Taylor, his wife. She manages to track down the previous owner's contact info.
Ah, the moment of truth. Or obfuscation.
Totally. And this is where it gets really strange. He describes them as being a little odd on the phone, like pausing a lot, seeming guarded.
Defensive.
Yeah. When he asks about this big metal door, the wife's response is just bizarre.
What'd she say?
Claimed it was a tornado shelter.
Yeah.
Said they had lost the key and then told him to just ignore it.
Just ignore it. Seriously, a giant locked industrial metal door in your basement that screams, do not ignore this.
My thoughts exactly. That conversation ended pretty quick after that. The narrator said he had a really bad feeling. Taylor tried to laugh it off, but he just couldn't shake it.
That previous owner interaction is a massive red flag in hindsight. They were clearly hiding something big time.
No kidding. He obsessed over it for weeks. Tried everything, like trying to pick the lock, pry it. Nothing. Solid.
The locked door paradox. The more you can't open it, the more you need to know what's behind it.
Exactly. He finally gives up for about a week, but it just gnaws at him. He decides, okay, I have to know. So a couple of days before he wrote this account, he hired a locksmith.
Bringing in the professionals. Smart.
And even the locksmith's comment is telling. He apparently said the lock was unusually complex for his simple panic room.
Ooh, adding to the mystery, what needed that level of security down there?
Right. So they finally get it open, and what they found inside, he says the room was set up like a shrine.
A shrine to what?
Walls covered in old black and white photos, with strange symbols drawn on them.
Okay, getting weirder.
In the center of the room, a chair, facing the wall, looked worn, like someone spent a lot of time just sitting there staring at the wall.
Creepy. What else?
In a corner, there's a cot, crumpled blankets, smelled stale, kind of gross, and trash, Yankee chip bags, crumpled water bottles.
Like trash, like recent trash.
Yeah. And the horrifying realization hits him. Someone had been staying there recently. He was just dumbfounded.
Oh my God. Okay, that is terrifying on its own. A hidden room looking like that, and someone was living in it, in their house.
But it gets worse.
How could it get worse?
He then notices a second door in the room. On the far right, small, half hidden.
Another door inside the secret room.
Yep. And when he opens that door, it leads to a set of stairs going up
Up where?
to the cellar door out inside the house.
Wait, you mean the outside cellar door? The hatch thingy in the yard?
Exactly that. He felt like a total idiot. He'd never checked that exterior cellar door when they moved in. Just assumed it led down to the main basement area. They'd never opened that outside hatch since moving in.
So, this person living in the hidden shrine room, they had a secret internal door that led directly to stairs going up to the outside access hatch in the yard.
Correct. They could come and go completely undetected. From the yard, down the hatch stairs, through the little door, into the secret room.
The bewilderment turns to pure terror, I imagine. Someone had potentially been living in their house, coming and going, completely unknown to them for who knows how long.
3 months, maybe longer. And suddenly, all those little weird things started making sense. You know, items going missing. He'd blamed his wife, thought she was just misplacing things.
Oh man, it was probably this hidden occupant.
Likely. The violation of privacy, of safety. It's just unimaginable. Knowing someone could have been in your home, maybe while you slept, accessed through a secret space you didn't even know existed.
Chilling. Absolutely chill. What did they do?
He immediately tried calling those previous owners again. Furious. Demanding answers, threatening legal action.
Did they pick up?
Nope. No answer. Number either disconnected or they were just straight up avoiding him. Taylor was, understandably, a complete wreck. He was too.
I bet. So securing the place.
That night, immediate action. They barricaded that exterior cellar door from the inside with heavy furniture, put a heavy-duty looking chain and a padlock on it. Like, no one was sneaking back in that way.
Necessary step. But wow, imagine having to do that in your brand new home. Called the police.
Yep. Police came, took a full report, said they'd try to contact the previous owners. He even called their realtor, who's apparently horrified, and offered to help however she could.
Did realtor. But the threat wasn't over, was it?
Not even close. That very night, as they're getting ready for bed, they hear a loud bang on the front door. Dog starts barking like crazy. They just froze. Fear.
Oh no. They came back.
Seems like it. The banging stopped. Then they heard small rocks tapping against their bedroom window.
Ugh, psychological games, trying to scare them.
Totally. He gets furious now, grabs a baseball bat, looks out the window but can't see anything in the dark, and then crash. Glass shattering downstairs.
Kitchen window?
Yep. He runs downstairs, adrenaline pumping again, sees two figures running away from the house, calls 911 again.
So they escalated to property damage. Police response.
Came quickly, searched the house, the basement again. No sign of forced entry into the storm room, that hidden space. No one found on the property.
So the best guess is
whoever had been living downstairs was pissed off they were locked out. Came back to intimidate them, scare them off maybe.
Which just confirms the terrifying link back to the hidden room and its occupant. God, how are they coping?
He was furious, horrified, said his wife had been a wreck ever since. The police, now, they've escalated things because it's actual vandalism, a crime, actively trying to track down those previous owners.
Have they found them yet?
As of his account, this had all happened just 2 days prior. Still hadn't heard from the former owners. He thinks maybe the police presence scared the squatters away, for now at least.
Let's hope so.
But yeah, he's still just reeling. Shocked something like this could even happen. Doesn't know what they'll do if they can't contact the owners. But he says he's prepared to defend himself if they come back.
Wow. The idea of a hidden room, a secret access point, someone possibly living there from the moment you moved in, it's just a total profound violation.
It really underscores how the history of a property, especially the human history, can linger in the most disturbing ways possible.
Absolutely. Okay, should we move to the third one?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, third story. This narrator bought his first house at 27. Small place, modest, but it was his, big deal.
Huge milestone.
Yeah, but a big adjustment too. Living alone after growing up a packed house, 3 siblings, 2 dogs, he said the quiet felt profoundly strange.
That sudden transition to solitude can definitely amplify feelings. Vulnerability, isolation maybe, could play into how he perceives things later.
Could be. He had one favorite feature though, a tiny little balcony off the second floor. Barely big enough to stand on, he says.
A Juliet balcony maybe.
Sounds like it. He used it every night to smoke and just clear his head. Didn't like smoking inside.
Yeah.
A simple luxury for him.
And that balcony gave him a particular view, I imagine.
Exactly. Property layout was pretty standard. Houses side by side, backyard separated by tall fences. But his balcony completely overlooked his backyard neighbor's yard.
Ah, okay. Direct line of sight.
Yep. He hadn't met this backyard neighbor yet. Never saw anyone in the yard, no waving, not even a face at a window, just an occasional light on at night. The yard itself, a total mess. Looked like it hadn't been mowed in years. He just assumed it was maybe an old person who couldn't keep it up.
That neglected appearance again. Often the first visual cue that something might be off. Either with the property or the occupant.
True. So after about a week, curiosity wins. He decides, okay, I'll walk around the block, introduce myself, finds the neighbor's house. Looks rough. Completely untouched, like it had been ignored for years. Chipping paint, scratched siding, stained walkway. Doorbell's broken.
Doesn't sound welcoming.
Not at all. He knocks loudly, waits.
Anyone home?
He sees it. A quick movement.
Yeah.
A flicker, he calls it, behind the window shade, like someone peeking out. He knows someone's in there, spying on him, but they're not going to open the door.
Awkward. And a bit creepy.
Yeah. He turns to leave, feeling awkward, a little unnerved. And then, suddenly, bam! The door flew open, slams violently against the house wall. He jumps back. And he's face to face with his neighbor. An elderly Asian woman.
Okay. What was she like?
His description is really vivid. Short, gray hair, tight bun, wrinkled skin, but tense. And her eyes, unsettlingly wide. He says she looked off. Like maybe she was on something.
Intense first impression.
Totally. She didn't say a word at first, just stared. No expression.
Yeah.
He clears his throat, tries to be neighborly. Hi, I'm your new neighbor.
How'd she react?
After a few seconds of just silence,
Yeah.
she just says, Priscilla. Gives this weird half smile. Doesn't ask his name, just stands there, watching him.
Okay, that's odd.
Yeah. He just nods, turns away, feeling, as he put it, more unnerved than he wanted to admit. Didn't even hear the door close behind him.
That initial interaction, wow. The sudden violence of the door, the intense stare, the minimal, strange response. It sets a tone of deep unease right from the get-go.
It really does. And it didn't stop there. That very night, he's out on his little balcony, smoking, looks down.
And she's there.
She's there, standing dead center in her yard, looking straight up at my house.
Stare.
Just staring. Not moving, not calling out. He wondered if he was even seeing it right. Didn't know how to react. Just went back inside. Told himself, okay, she's probably harmless.
Easy to say, harder to feel.
Right. But the staring became a pattern. The next night, he sees her again. But this time, she's moving inside her house. From one window to another, he said, watching me from each one.
Oh, that's deliberate stalking behavior.
Yeah. He pretended not to notice, but he felt like she knew he saw her. He checked again maybe 20 minutes later. She was still looking at his house.
Okay, that's beyond quirky neighbor stuff.
He calls his dad, worried. His dad suggests maybe dementia, loneliness, confusion. Tells him maybe he should feel bad for her. But the narrator's like, it's hard to feel bad for someone who's borderline stalking you. Still, his dad kind of calmed his nerves, said she was probably harmless.
And that highlights that really difficult judgment call, doesn't it? When you see erratic behavior, maybe it stems from mental illness, maybe age. Is it harmless confusion, or is it something genuinely threatening? It's so hard to know how to respond sometimes.
Totally. A few nights actually passed without incident after that. He started to think, okay, maybe Dad was right. Maybe it was just weird but harmless. Until one morning,
What happened?
he found a woman's sock
A sock. Where?
on my side of the fence, just sitting in my yard.
Whoa. Okay, that's the line cross. Staring is creepy, invasive, but finding something of hers physically on his property, that means she was on his lawn. That's trespassing.
Exactly. He felt a chill. He knew she'd been there. Didn't know what to do. Didn't want to confront her. Felt weird about it, but couldn't ignore it.
Yeah.
He says now, looking back, he regrets not calling the police right then and there.
Yeah, clear escalation, a physical boundary crossed. In hindsight, a huge warning sign.
And then the peak incident. Violent. That night, he's laying in bed. His doorbell starts ringing. And ringing. At least a dozen times, he says, one right after the other. Ding dong, ding dong, ding
Oh
dong.
man, he knew it was her.
Knew it. He was in this tired haze, more annoyed than scared initially, not thinking clearly. Gets up, goes to the door, telling himself, okay, I'll just ask her to leave. I've been putting this off too long. He cringes now, thinking about how naive he was.
Underestimating the potential threat in that moment.
Totally. The second he opened that door, she lunged at me, running, full speed,
No, with what?
a kitchen knife in her hand, her face twisted in rage, screaming something about him taking her son from her.
Oh my god. A sudden, violent, terrifying assault out of absolutely nowhere, really, after the earlier strangeness.
She barely had time to process. Instinct took over, grabbed her arm, wrestled the knife away, managed to pin her down on the floor. He says it was actually easy to overpower her physically because she was elderly and frail, but it was absolutely terrifying.
I can only imagine. Heart racing, hands shaking.
Exactly. Held her there, called the police. She was screaming nonsense the whole time about her son, threatening to kill him, tried to bite him. He just wouldn't let go.
How long did that last?
He described those 5 minutes waiting for the police as the longest 5 minutes of my life. Said she never stopped screaming or squirming.
Unbelievable. Police arrive.
Yep. Restrained her, got her into the cruiser. She was still screaming the whole time. He could hear it fading as the car drove away. He said he had never been more scared.
I don't doubt it. What happened to her?
Police made sure he was okay first off, then told him she'd likely go to a psychiatric facility for evaluation.
Did he ever see her again?
Never saw her again.
Wow.
But the incident, he says, it weighs pretty heavily on him. Understandably. Made him much more paranoid, more cautious about his surroundings.
Changed his sense of safety completely, I bet.
Yeah. And ultimately, he ended up moving out, not even a year later.
A clear consequence of that trauma, the complete loss of feeling safe in his own home forced him out.
Wow. Okay. These stories, they're all so distinct, but hearing them back to back like this, the parallels are really striking, aren't they?
They really are. I mean, the core theme is crystal clear. Profoundly unsettling things happening almost immediately after moving into a new place. That immediate invasion or compromise of the security you desperately need when you're settling in.
Yeah, whether it's, mysterious figures moving statues, or a hidden, possibly occupied secret room, or a neighbor who escalates from staring to violent assault.
And in every single case, there's that challenge of the unknown, isn't there? Who is doing this? Why? What do they want? That lack of answers is terrifying in itself.
And the initial struggle to get help, like in the statue story and the hidden room story,
Yeah.
the police initially couldn't do much. There wasn't proof of a significant crime yet.
Right. It took escalation, actual vandalism, a broken window, and certainly the assault in the third story for the situation to be taken more seriously by authorities.
Exactly. And you can see how frustrating and frankly terrifying that must be for the person feeling threatened. Just waiting for something worse to happen so someone will finally believe them or be able to act.
Yeah, law enforcement response is often necessarily based on the severity of the immediate provable evidence. Moving statues or a weird locked door just doesn't hit the same threshold as vandalism or assault.
And the psychological toll is just so evident across all three accounts. That constant vigilance, the fear, the impact on relationships. And like I said, the narrator in the third story ultimately felt he had to move out entirely. He couldn't shake that feeling of being unsafe.
These stories really do highlight those hidden aspects of buying or renting a home, don't they? The stuff you absolutely cannot find in a standard inspection report.
Totally. It's not just about leaky roofs or bad wiring, it's the human element. The history of previous occupants, the complex, sometimes dangerous dynamics of a neighborhood.
And they offer these really uncomfortable examples of potential red flags that might be present early on, but maybe easily overlooked or dismissed. Like the neglected neighboring property in the Priscilla story, or that incredibly strange guarded behavior from the previous owners in the hidden room story. Those were signals.
Definitely. And this all has serious implications for personal safety, for home security. These accounts really underscore the need for vigilance. Not paranoia, maybe, but definitely awareness.
Yeah, and the importance of securing all potential access points. Even ones you might not think about, like that exterior cellar door in the second story. Who thinks to check that immediately?
Right. And maybe considering security measures like cameras, even when finances are tight. As the first two narrators found out, sometimes that investment becomes absolutely essential.
It does. But these stories also illustrate the profound difficulty, sometimes the sheer impossibility, of predicting or preventing human threats, especially when behavior is erratic or potentially stems from mental illness, like with Priscilla. Those situations are just deeply personal and incredibly challenging to navigate safely.
So why does exploring these stories matter to you listening right now? Moving is so common, it's usually hopeful, exciting. But these accounts, they serve as this stark reminder to just be aware.
Yeah, it's not about fostering paranoia. It's about being informed. Informed that unexpected, unsettling challenges can arise, even in a place that feels safe initially.
So what can you maybe take away from these experiences? Well, perhaps look beyond just the superficial when you're house hunting. Pay attention to the neighborhood dynamic, the state of neighboring properties maybe.
Definitely. Secure your home comprehensively. Check all potential entry points, even the unlikely ones. And if you do encounter strange occurrences, don't just dismiss them outright. Assess them carefully. Consider seeking help or advice, even if it feels minor at first.
And maybe most importantly, understand the potential psychological impact if you do start feeling unsafe in your own space. Think about how you'd address that both practically, like with security, and emotionally. These aren't just campfire tales. They're cautionary examples rooted in real unnerving experiences.
They really are. They serve as this powerful reminder that a home isn't just walls and a roof. It's a place where history, sometimes unsettling history, can linger.
Yeah. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to consider.
How much does a place's history, whether it's visible or hidden deep in the walls, truly shape the experience of living there? And maybe what responsibility do we have to try and uncover that history before we make it our own?
Something to mull over, for sure. Well, that brings us to the end of our look into these really unsettling experiences people have had right after moving into a new home.
Thanks for joining us for this one.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.